What's up, YouTube? What's up, sports fans? It's iLivetowin, joined again with
Billy B.
And today we're going to tell you guys what's on our minds. Billy B is going to kick off today's topic.
All right, what's on my mind today? The Peyton Manning Jim Irsay war that's going back and forth. Jim Irsay comes out. He says Peyton Manning's decision is on him to come back to the Colts, which I think is a load of crap. Jim Irsay knows Peyton Manning does not want to come back to the Colts simply because of the fact that he got rid of Bill Polian, his quarterback's coach, and Jim Caldwell. They're all gone. He fired them all. He was good friends with all three of them, obviously. He loved Jim Caldwell, which I don't know why. He was a terrible coach.
Agreed.
He cost him many games.
Especially the Jets game in the playoffs. I think it was the Jets. They played the Jets a couple years ago, and he made some crazy decision, and I was like, what a terrible play.
Mr. Stonewall on the sideline. No expressions whatsoever on the sidelines, you know. You know, Peyton Manning with his calls all over the field, and this is Caldwell just standing there like this.
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand. Not a good coach at all.
He's just looking at Peyton. Peyton's like, here's the call, coach. He's like, all right, good.
So, back to Jim Irsay. You know, I don't think it's he knows Peyton Manning's not going to come back. You know, he's due the $28 million. I know that's a lot of money for someone that didn't play
a lot of moolah
at all in 2011. But Jim Irsay knew he had to give him this money when he gave him the contract last year. So, you know, he has got to bite what he can chew. So.
Yeah, but I don't think he knew that Peyton Manning was going to be injured and sit out the whole 2011-2012 season.
I mean, he knew he was hurt. He knew he needed the surgeries when he gave him the contract, I think. So, but I mean, regardless of that, he said he would sign a friendly contract coming up. So I'm sure Peyton Manning said, if you cut me, I'll come back. You know, before all this happened, you know, the War of the Words.
War of the Words.
Not War of the
Worlds. With
That's
Tom Cruise, 2005
yeah.
movie.
Tom Cruise and
and Dakota Fanning.
Yeah. But before all this was going back and forth, you know, I'm sure he said, if you don't want to pay me the $28 million, you can cut me, and I'll sign for a more team-friendly contract here. But the $28 million is not going against the cap anyway. But you know, what team wants to pay $28 million to a player that didn't play? But
especially a 36-year-old with 4 neck surgeries in the past year, I think it is. Maybe that's over his career. I forget exactly when it is, but I mean the guy's a risk because he's not only is he an injury risk to himself, but he's an injury risk for the team as well. I mean, you pay him any kind of big bucks and he goes down for the year again, and that could be it. That could be his career. One more injury could be his career. And
I think he knows that. Peyton Manning knows that, which is exactly why he said, I will sign a team-friendly contract, which with a lot of incentives, which, if he throws X amount of yards, X amount of touchdowns, that's when he will earn his money. So, I mean, obviously we'll find out. He's obviously going to get cut. No one expects him to stay with the Colts. So I'm sure, with all the Twitter and all this information that we get, I'm sure we'll find out every single detail of the contract he's going to get. So, I mean, we'll obviously find out every little detail about it. The teams that I think he can go to are maybe 5 teams. The Cardinals, because that's where his QB coach went to. He's got the nice weather. He's got Fitzgerald. Early DeSean's an up-and-coming receiver.
I think that's the best fit for him, too.
Yeah. The offensive line.
Except for the Jets. But.
Yeah. Offensive line's not too great, but, I mean, they can always work on it. They can sign some players. The defense is, not terrible, not great, but, they're doable. They're passable. Peyton Manning goes there, and he returns to 75% of what he was. They can keep the defense off the field, so they'll obviously get a little better.
Let's just say that the Cardinals started, I believe it was 1 for 6 with Kevin Kolb, and then they went like 7-1 or 7-2.
I mean, if they're worried about
Kevin Kolb's skeleton,
if they're worried about Kevin Kolb's hurting his feelings, he sucks.
This will be the second year where he'll be ousted from a team.
But he can go to the Cardinals, like we just said, the Jets, which I don't think he's going to go there because they love Mark Sanchez.
Yeah,
he also sucks.
Sanchez blows. I mean, he's cost the Jets so many games, it's ridiculous.
And I think it's going to come down to the 2 teams, the Dolphins and the Redskins. They're probably the 2 front runners for him. He'll be a good fit for Mike Shanahan.
He'll like playing for the Dolphins with Brandon Marshall. The Redskins are a little thin at receiver.
Yeah.
You got Santana Moss, who's aging, losing his speed. You've got Chris Cooley, who's injured all the time,
prone, yeah.
and he's older.
Which brings me to the next point. I think Reggie Wayne will probably go where Peyton Manning was. It's probably going to be a package deal. If the team that wants to sign Peyton Manning he's probably going to say, I want Reggie Wayne to come with me. It's probably going to be a package deal because I don't think Reggie Wayne's going to go back to the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably going to be a package deal with that too. So
Well,
wherever Peyton goes, Reggie Wayne's probably going to go too because
Yeah.
that's probably going to be one of the factors of Peyton Manning's going to say, if you want to sign me, I want my boy Reggie Wayne to come with me.
Yeah.
So the team that wants Peyton, going to have to sign Reggie also.
Well, Joe Theismann came out, former Redskins player, former Heisman Trophy winner, I believe, right? Or at least that was the story. He changed his name to Theismann. It was really Thiesman, so that it rhymed with Heisman when he was on the Heisman candidacy. But Joe Theismann actually came out and said he does not think the Redskins should sign Peyton Manning. That he thinks they need to stop trying to get these stopgap quarterbacks, like, Mark Brunell comes in for a little bit, or a Rex Grossman, who's, I don't know what they were thinking when they did that.
He's terrible too.
Donovan McNabb. You get these guys who are at the latter ends of their career, and you try to bring them in. He thinks they need to go out and draft a quarterback, which I agree they do. But you still bring in Peyton Manning, and you let the other guy sit for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, John Beck and Grossman aren't going to get it done.
Right, and whatever happened to Colt Brennan? They had Colt Brennan for a while there from Hawaii.
Yeah, he stinks too. But
And I would take him over any of the quarterbacks they got on that roster.
absolutely.
John Beck, Rex Grossman, give me a break. You guys, if you followed our videos, you've seen me week in and week out just take against the Redskins because they've got Beck and Grossman at quarterback, and yet somehow they beat the Giants twice. So go figure. I don't know.
But, I mean, it's going to be a never-ending saga until March 8th. Stay tuned.
Yep.
All right, so that ends our discussion on the Peyton Manning saga. I'm sure there'll be a lot more on that never-ending story. So we're going to jump right into what's on iLivetowin's mind here.
What's on my mind, because we're from Philadelphia, you can see I'm wearing a Philadelphia Flyers shirt. And in another video, we're actually going to be talking a little bit about the Flyers and some trending topics that are going on involving the Flyers team. But what's on my mind here is DeSean Jackson, because he's a big story in Philadelphia. What to do with DeSean Jackson? A lot of people feel like the Eagles are basically going to franchise tag him and either keep him for the year and then decide later, or they're going to keep him, franchise tag him, and then trade him. In my opinion, I think they should franchise tag him and trade him because he is not an every down receiver in the sense that you hear that term for running backs a lot. He's not an every down back. But you never really hear that term for receivers. But I think DeSean Jackson fits in this category because he's useless in the red zone. Absolutely useless. Sometimes he disappears during games. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say what the Eagles did to him last year wasn't wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say signing a guy like Steve Smith to be a fourth receiver on your team and paying him $4 million and giving Vince Young like $4 million as a backup quarterback. I'm not saying I wouldn't be furious if I was DeSean. I mean, $500,000 he made. Well, if I made $500,000, I'd be happy. But being the situation as it is in DeSean's shoes, I'd be a little unhappy.
Well, if you keep getting the subscribers, we might be up and coming and making $500,000.
That's true. So keep hitting that subscribe button. We'll go over that later too. But my main point with DeSean Jackson would be that he disappears sometimes for a full game. And when you look at what could be out there, here's a list of three guys that could be out there. Dwayne Bowe, who is a big, tall guy, will help in the red zone. Vincent Jackson. And finally, what I just read today, which was very interesting to me, Mike Wallace. Mike Wallace is in a contract year. He's a restricted free agent. But what they're saying is that the Steelers won't be able to match any other team's offer, basically.
Yep.
If somebody comes in and swoops in and makes them a big offer, the Steelers are not going to be able to match. Under the new terms, before they would have had to give up, say the Eagles make an offer on them, they would have had to give up a first and a third. Now they just have to give up a first. And what they're saying is the Steelers would probably let Wallace walk, because if they tied up, say they franchise Wallace, which would be about $9.5 million, next year they'd be Antonio Brown would be a free agent as well as Wallace again, and they'd be faced with the same decision: do we let one walk? Antonio Brown was voted the Steelers MVP of 2011. So if the Eagles could get a guy like Mike Wallace or Dwayne Bowe, preferably one of them two, I would love that. Who cares about DeSean? He's a thing of the past. Vincent Jackson, on the other hand, I do like. But again, he's in the same boat as DeSean as me. I'm not too sure on him. I do like him better than DeSean because he's an every down receiver in the sense that he can go across the middle, whereas DeSean goes across the middle. I mean, come on now. The guy's my size. If I went across the middle on an NFL field and saw the smallest defensive player in the league, if I saw him coming at me, I'd run the other way.
All right, my take is, the three receivers he mentioned, knowing how the Eagles think, they're going to say, oh, Mike Wallace is available. He's just like DeSean Jackson. All he does is run deep. That's not true. Mike Wallace can do so much more on the football field than DeSean Jackson can. But the Eagles are, so thick-headed in their thinking. They're just going to say, "Oh, Mike Wallace, all he does is run deep." Mike Wallace is a great curl route runner. He runs slants. He'll go over the middle. He does it all.
Yep.
But the Eagles will discount all that because they're so thick-headed.
Yep.
Dwayne Bowe, I just heard today that the Chiefs are going to probably franchise him, so he's probably off the table. Vincent Jackson, he's going to be available. I heard the Chargers are just going to let him go. So he's probably going to be the only big-name receiver that the Eagles are going to be able to get. So,
or Plax, but he's on a much lower level.
Plaxico
at this
would
point in
be
his career.
the guy that I would go after for the red zone. I mean, he's a great red zone threat for Vic.
Yep.
Eagles haven't had one of them in
Ages.
since T.O.
Yeah.
I would say.
And before that, Chad Lewis, who was a tight end, but
Stormer Mormon.
it's true. I mean, Chad Lewis caught all of our red zone touchdowns
Absolutely.
back in the day.
So, I mean, the Eagles have to sign one of these guys. I knew the Eagles obviously have a plan. They are good at having plans for these kind of situations. They probably know of a team that would want DeSean Jackson. Now, for what? They obviously drafted DeSean in the second round, so hopefully they will be getting probably maybe a third rounder for DeSean, because the team that they trade DeSean to will obviously have to restructure the contract, because I think the franchise tag for receivers is $9 to $10 million.
No.
So obviously, I don't think a team wants to pay him $9 to $10 million for a receiver that disappears. But who knows? Maybe the team that they trade him to will know how to use him better than the Eagles will,
Yeah.
or a team that they trade him to has a number one receiver opposite of him that is a lot better than the Eagles have. They have Macklin and Avant. Maybe he gets traded to a team that has a number one that he doesn't have to.
Yeah, well, the pressure won't be on him.
Exactly.
With the Eagles team right now is they spy him with the safety a lot. They take away his deep threat,
Yeah.
and that's my main problem, because once they do that and they take away his deep threat, he's not going across the middle.
Exactly.
I mean, you could say what you want about his contract year this year, that the Eagles mistreated him, which they did, and I agree with that. That doesn't mean that when he's in the game against the Patriots and he has a pass across the middle of the field that goes right through his hands, and you literally see him go like this and then look and go, uh-oh,
Chicken arm.
and just, pull right in and say, I'm not going to. He got absolutely plastered against Atlanta when he had a concussion, and I believe that was last year, right?
Yeah.
And Macklin was this year, right?
I think it was
Against Atlanta?
Dante Robinson that laid him out.
It was Robinson both times.
Mm-hmm.
And Robinson absolutely killed him. I thought he was dead last
Shouldn't have been
year.
a penalty either.
And
That's going
Robin
to be another video also.
leveled DeSean Jackson. Now listen, a small guy like that, when you get leveled like that and you almost die, I don't blame him not going across the middle because he's not that big, But Dante Robinson wasn't going to try that to T.O. in his prime, because T.O. would have knocked him out, So that's my main problem with DeSean, is that he's one-dimensional.
Exactly.
He's like my friend Bob O, who we play football with. He just goes deep, and if you stop that, you're going to stop everything he does. Except Bob's a little bit bigger and he's a lot slower than DeSean.
So, I mean, we'll see what happens. The Eagles obviously need to get another receiver. Macklin's not a number one. Avant is.
Nope.
I think Avant's a good slot receiver, but he obviously is not going to catch more than 50 balls a season.
Yep.
I mean, DeSean could probably flourish in a Drew Brees.
With the Saints, he would do very, very well.
Imagine,
They might lose Colston.
Yeah,
That's
they
another
might
guy
lose
that
Colston.
might be
so,
available.
Imagine DeSean going to Drew Brees. I mean, that'll.
Or Drew Brees going to DeSean.
Same thing.
I mean, if DeSean goes to Drew Brees, I don't think it's going to work quite as well. It's just a guess.
Happens sometimes. Trick plays,
Sure.
Sean Peyton likes to trick plays, Super Bowl onside kicks,
You heard it here first. DeSean to Drew Brees.
2 touchdowns this year if he goes there.
And with that, any other final thoughts?
Nope. We're going to
Wrap it up.
Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe. Leave us your comments below. Give us a topic you want us to talk about. It could be in the next video. See you next video.